minimal understanding of the subject, but let me share with you for 10 minutes what might, in different language, be able to help you. From what I can understand, and I think it's pretty well, when you stop and think about it, accepted. Narcissism starts when the parent-child relationship doesn't separate from the maternal period, the maternal aspect. The maternal aspect being that of when the child is dependent on the parent is bringing to the child the best possible ways to look after itself and navigate life, to the point where, as soon as possible and within reason, and for the benefit of the child first and then the parent, the child individuates and separates from the parent. And with all the life skills that the parents taught the child, it's able to begin to navigate its life, probably coming to and fro at the start and at different points along life's journey, to check in with the parent as to how things might be travelling, or to get further advice or comfort or some kind of other motivational attribute to help them along in their life. Now, some children are groomed by the parent to stay, psychologically stay. This comes out of the parent's insecurities or other incapacities to want to separate maternally from the child. And this is called covert emotional incest or enmeshment, whatever you're more comfortable with. It's not a very nice thought or thing that you think people would go through, but they do hang on to each other long after the maternal period has passed. Now, narcissism, and there's a channel on YouTube, the man I highly respect, Professor Sam Vaknin, who made up the dialect, a lot of the dialect of narcissism, still puts out videos every day. Professor Sam Vaknin instituted this revelation from personal experience and study, I would imagine, on the fact that people that don't individuate and separate from their parents in a healthy way become narcissistic. And how this works is like this. When a child is dependent on the parent, an adult child, has never individuated and separated from the parent, so they're dependent on the parent and the parent on the child. When there's a beautiful stingray there, I'll just go over the top of him. When they come together, there's always a heightened, heightened environment, like a love bombing environment, but at a mediated level. Okay, there's this emotional enmeshment that takes place at a hyper maternal level, and it's a silent language that works between these two people, but it's very loud, and you can see it when you come across the path of these people that are or have been unable to navigate and jettison the maternal phase of the parent-child relationship. It's a silent language, and it can be very distasteful, particularly if you're trying to be the partner of one or the other. But you'll notice that there's an attachment that is not or cannot be justified as parent-child. It's just not. And it's very obvious. And as the relationship goes on, your relationship, they come along and they have that same heightened initial emotional experience. It's called the love bomb phase, and that's how they bring you in. And the parent or adult child, depending on which one you're with, you could be with the adult child or the parent, they'll play along with this at the start because they know that they can't give intimate supply at that level to the parent or child, whatever your scenario is. So at first they go along with the fact that, okay, they need supply from a stranger, intimate supply, I'll buy into that for them. But if the relationship turns to a more permanent level, this is going to cause what's known as a narcissistic breakdown, where everything will change from being accepted by family members, etc., and possibly even the partner, to a disintegration of value. It's called devalue. You won't be as valuable as what they made out you were, and there's no reason for you not to be. This just happens automatically in the psyche of these narcissistic people, because once you've given them the intimate supply, they return back to their baseline, which is the dysfunctional maternal bond. Okay, so you're not going to get in that circle, but that's the baseline. That's where the security is, that's where the safety is, that's where the identity is, that's where these people dwell. So you're just an outside means of, outside source of intimacy. And once you've met that need, they retreat or return to their coven, let's say, where they reinvigorate themselves, re-establish, reunite in the covert emotional incest until they're ready to be resupplied. And this can be very well camouflaged. But you're not the primary person in the relationship. The dysfunctional maternal bond is, and it's not going to change. You'll start to feel confused, you'll start to feel violated, you'll wonder why there's big spaces in the timeline between when they see you intimately and then when they return. You might find that the parent-child have addictions and they join together to share in those. They'll encourage each other to stay in them, to move away. People that are a little bit above that or don't want to participate in that, they have intimate emotional bonds through the addictions, the parent and adult child. And this gives them, again, another sense of identity and being accepted. It's all fantasy. It's called a dual fantasy. So the self-destruction is happening in the maternal, dysfunctional maternal bond. And you're not going to get function because the baseline is dysfunction. And you'll start to sense this. And this is what narcissism is. It's void, it's space, it's the gap, the unexplained gap, the missing, the disconnect, the lack of connection, but you're being vampired of intimacy. Now you think that's building love, it's not. You're just filling a hollow void that this person's running on through their sinful nature to have it fulfilled and to go back to their baseline. What's the baseline? The dysfunctional maternal bond between the adult and the child. Now I've got to wrap this up. And I really haven't finished, but I'll wrap it up. When you realize there's more going on in the maternal, dysfunctional maternal bond, you've realized there's just something not right. You've got to accept that you're never going to break it. The way in which the relationship has manifested or matured or marinated is how it's going to stay. And you immediately need to make your mind up and say, hang on, I'm being played here, I'm being used simply as a means of supply that the dysfunctional maternal relationship can't provide. And before the hostility starts, it's best for you to detach, understand these principles, detach, micro-incrementally explain your situation. Look, you're a nice person and all that, but this ain't working out for me. I've gone into too much detail trying to help people with all this, and it doesn't wash, just doesn't sink in, it doesn't help or wash. In fact, it's kind of embarrassing for them, and it's going to be a little bit intrusive of you to share what you know about these things. You're better off just leaving them alone so the trauma isn't more than what it already is, because you've violated the baseline, you've violated the tribe, and that's not supposed to happen, because all their security and everything else is within that circle, within that coven. And when strangers come in, even though they'll initially be accepted, that acceptance will turn to rejection and possible destruction, depending on the severity and depth of the psychology of these people and how long you decide to stay around. So once you've worked out that there's covert emotional incest between or amongst this group of people, this tribe, this family, this partner that you have, and that's going to be consequential to you, negatively consequential, you have to detach, you have to come back to yourself, you really do have to go no contact, let them go, they'll go back to their baseline and cover the gap that you leave behind with somebody else. They usually fill that pretty quick, and use each other in a victim mentality to justify usually that you've done something wrong, or you'll get vandalized, in other words. That's just how it works. They don't fix anything, they don't know how to. Go no contact and never go back. I'm Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, on the water. Bye for now.